I decided to investigate the idea for a virtual assistant for violence prevention. In 2022 alone, there are 250 million women, which is around 9–10% of all the women worldwide, that have experienced intimate partner violence. This violence affects mostly women, and it is in every country of the planet. And since 1992, international movements law were raised to help end this issue, as well as a global network called Unite. Within this context and this issue, I tried to find an opportunity for a machine learning solution. Violence is affecting billions of people. This problem is huge. Ending this problem is called explicitly in Sustainable Development Goals. Machine learning can help to predict human behavior. For this problem, we have at hand a worldwide database on previous events of violence, having historical data potentially from the 90s. The challenge is to put this data into action. There is a need to understand risk factors and finally develop tools for prevention and support. Based on this information, I draft a business scenario. Violence is affecting billions of people. This issue is established with historical data and international laws that categorize it as such, but we lack of global awareness or services that can help to prevent it. So, how can we use today's technology to build such service that can help preventing events of violence? We certainly want these events are reduced as much as possible per year. We want to see this reduction in time. I frame this problem to result in a probability to declare an event more or less dangerous. To help in succeeding with this metric, we need relevant factors. To me, these factors are the characteristic of the scenario someone is observing or someone is affected by and needs help. For example, the gender of the abuser and the gender of the person being abused, the age range, the geographical area, and other features that of course are not easy to choose and justify. But I think these might really be relevant factors. I now present my solution and a validation plan for it. I propose a virtual assistant that receives user inputs on situation happening and, using historical data, inform the user how to assess the situation declared dangerous. Technically, I think a web page where the user follow few checkboxes or text type the situation can be effective. Once the situation or the scenario is declared dangerous, the assistant provides the user emergency phone numbers, historical events to raise awareness of the user, and indicate local communities for raising local awareness, so the user should not feel alone. About the validation of this solution, there exist already previous cases where one person might have raised a situation to the local police or authority. The situation was ignored, and eventually it led to an event of violence or worse. Our assistant could instead give a different outcome to this situation and be compared to these heuristic baseline events. But also ongoing cases reported to the police or local authority where the assistant could have questioned to compare answers. And when local authority declares events of violence for certain, they can insert this new observation onto the database and our assistant can be validated on this new observation. Now, few key aspects of our system solution. I decided this solution should be cloud-based, since it is thought as a web page and the huge database shall be handled in remote server. Life-death decision shall not be dependent on this web page. Instead, it is used to assess situation and then call eventual emergency phone numbers. I decided to train this model offline. I think it is a very complex problem to assess this type of issue, and new training might require more data points. Each month's retraining shall be enough. As last, I decided for offline prediction that are easier to monitor but requires batch of data before being updated. Finally, we look at the risk in production. Billions of people faces or witnesses events of violence. So, big amount of this new observation might be taken into account in our system, resulting considerable latency. Since we deal with this big amount of data, we might be slow in retraining the model. So to use a static training set while the environment is changing quickly might result in data drifting. And last, over the past years, events of violence might be different. New cases can appear based on an expected situation and our system might struggle to adapt.